So bringing it back in 2019, obviously we started out with some challenges. It was really I was approached in 2019 and we launched in 2020, right in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So we started out just like everybody else, just in a bizarre season. We were a small team. By the time we got to the spring, when we actually were able to compete, we only had 3 people left. And so seeing it grow from those 3 who hadn't really competed in, a year or 2 in some cases to now where we have student athletes that are competitive in conference and have won individual championships, and our women's team taking conference second place in conference last fall. It's been great to see that growth, but also still been able to maintain the kind of goofy, fun vibe that we have as a program. So it's been a fun journey, and I want to see it continue to grow that way.
Okay, so being a member of this Red Devil program, I think, has been just such an honor for me. I joined in the in the spring of 2022, starting out in the track season. And just right off the bat, I recognized like how close-knit the whole group was, but just how able they were to open up the group to the new members. And we're really all just like one big family. We're not a very big team, but we're a very close-knit team, and we're always there for one another. And I think Coach C-Rob has a lot to do with creating that mentality of us all being a team and us all supporting each other's wins and each other's losses. And even I love the mentality that we have of supporting all of the other teams that are out there, because running is a really difficult sport, just in any case whatsoever. And just the drive that we have to continue to support the other teams that are out there doing this sport.
So being on the Eureka cross country distance program, it's definitely an experience. Like everybody's it's just one big group. There's not like separate cliques. It's just everybody's part of the team, and it's really cool to see that. It's just, you don't, like in high school you would always get like all the different groups, but here it's just we're the team. There's no doubt about that. Like, oh, they're part of the cross team. Awesome.
So yeah, coming from Texas, that's not a normal recruiting area for me. Even though we are expanding now. Actually, he is a member of the church that founded us, the Disciples of Christ Christian Church, and we have a full tuition scholarship opportunity for students called the Disciples Leadership Program. He competed for that and won that scholarship. His dad is actually an active DOC minister. So that's how that connection started, and then he came to Eureka through the DLP.
Yeah, being a Red Devil, I think, and this is especially by our coach emphasized, the being specifically a D3 athlete, and then being at such a small school as well, you really get the chance to be a student and an athlete, student first always. And you, along with competing, along with being an athlete, training, running, all of that, I've really gotten to know my teammates. We are constantly having fun. We do our best to whenever we can around our schedules, find times for us all to hang out outside of practice, outside of meets. And we just, I don't know, it's so much fun getting to be with these people. Everyone that I'm on this team with brings a different energy to the team, and it all works together so well. It's a blast. It's electric.
So as a teammate, I think Hayden is like the perfect embodiment of what he was saying earlier about being a D3 athlete. We don't really get scholarships to run here. This is just kind of rounding out our entire college experience. And he's just like the perfect addition to that. He's probably one of the funniest people that I know. And we always do practice early in the morning. And so always having a good laugh in the morning when you're tired and you don't really want to be there is just the best, I think.
When I first heard of Hayden's accent, I was actually sitting in my living room, the minister of Eureka Christian Church here in town, which is where Hayden is actually a youth intern. She sent me a text. She was the one to let me know. And my son Nigel, who's going to be with us today, was in the room with us when that happened. So yeah, I won't forget that. It's pretty well ingrained in my head.
I think I was at home. I was sitting in my apartment and coach texted our group chat and just told us what he knew. And I just remembered like just not believing it was real. And it was kind of frustrating because coach didn't even really know what was going on. And so I wanted more details. I wanted to know what had happened, but we were just kind of in a state of unknowing.
I was with my dad. We had either just finished eating or we were about to eat dinner, and he gets the call, and I'm able to overhear what's going on the phone, and I just froze. I was like, no, that didn't happen. That was a scary time.
Yes, I was traveling home. I lived in Texas at the time. My older sister was graduating from nursing school. And so I was traveling home, trying to get back so I could go to her graduation. And then I didn't make it to the graduation. Southeast or southwest side of the St. Louis area where the accident happened. And I will say I don't remember much about that day. It's mostly gone, but I know that it was in that southwest side. There were a couple of hours of radio silence from me before anyone really figured out what had happened. And yeah. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. 2 of those weeks, or just about 3 weeks, 2 of those weeks I spent in the actual main campus of the hospital, switching between the ICU, the step down, and just a regular room. And then that last week I was transferred to a different facility that they had that was for rehab, and it was to help me figure out how to move while in a wheelchair without being able to use my legs. And I was there then for a week as well. But the list just goes on and on. Sorry, I'm trying to think of them all. I broke my pelvis. Then I shattered the wall of my hip. The ball joint went through the wall. Along with that, both of my femurs broke. I broke my left tibial plateau right below the knee. And then outside of injuries to my legs, I broke 2 fingers and my wrist in my left hand, and then had 2 fractures to my skull, one on my forehead and one on my cheek. Yes, quite a few surgeries. I have a metal rod in my left femur, too many plates and screws to count in my knee and in my hip. I have a screw in my wrist, and I want to say that's all of the metal I have, but I might be missing something. Yeah, it's been a long journey. It didn't really begin until this past August during the summer months, May, June, and July. I was completely unable to put any weight on my legs. And then it was early August that I got the all clear that I could start putting weight on them and start rehabbing. And from that moment on, I didn't hit the ground running. It was more of a slow step, but I started going to a rehab facility, a sports rehab facility near Eureka. where we just started from the basics of first being able to stand, having that balance. I was still mostly confined to my wheelchair for a couple more months. But it was, I could feel, you know, week by week, rehab session by rehab session, that I was slowly getting better. And it was all, all through it, I was just trying to push myself more and more to try to get back to where I was before. I'm not there yet, I know, but it's getting closer. I would say I'm around 85–90% at this point, and it's just been, it's been a journey of trying to both recover physically, get back into walking and then running, and then also just emotionally and mentally as I, work through the still pains that I have, work through how I'm going to get through this, get back to where I was. There have been roadblocks, but all in all, it's been a pretty steady course going forward. Yeah.
So I wasn't there the first time my dad visited him. He was pretty rough when he visited him the first time. But when I was able to get down and visit him, he was just like, this is Hayden again, but he happens to have a lot more scars. But he's just a really goofy, really hopeful guy. And like all of that shined through the entire time. Like the amount of jokes he played on us when he was in the wheelchair, it was really cool to see, even though like he was going through a lot. It was really fun to see that Hayden is still shining through.
When I found out he was cleared, actually it goes back further than that. I still remember when I was, I think the first time I visited him in the hospital, I mean, he wasn't really even, he says I'm one of the first people he remembers visiting. And this was literally the Saturday after the accident happened. I believe it happened on a Wednesday, and I was there on Saturday. And there was already conversation about like, he's going to run again. So he had that mindset from then. So I really kind of at that point, it's not a matter of if, it's when. There were still plenty of hurdles to clear. And I was still actually really surprised when he got clearance to start running over winter break this year. So this entire spring has been him working on balance, working on stability on his feet, because running is a one-legged sport when you really break it down. Working on all those little things to feel stable, to be able to actually put some speed into what he's doing. It's been a cool journey.
Over this past year, watching his progression, I think, has been pretty inspiring for me. Like when you're in an accident like that, there's no guarantee that you'll even walk again. And just the fact that he did everything so soon, like he always did everything like a month before the doctor said that he would even be able to do it. I think before he came back to school in August, he was already using a walker to get around. He was still mainly in his wheelchair when he first came back, but he was already taking his first steps. He was already able to continue that recovery process very quickly for this kind of an accident. And just the fact that it only took him a year, I think is just inspirational. And I think it's pretty amazing how quickly he was able to do that.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to Nigel and Sarah, we were over there. This stepping on the track, it has been right today, it's 16 days away from a year since my accident. So this has essentially been a year in the making. I have been so ready to get back to this. Back in I think it was December or November, I was cleared to start getting back to running, getting back to working out. I was nowhere near where I am today. I was still do have some, issues, some problems, but it's been a year in the making. It's, I'm very excited to get back on the track to be able to do what I've loved to do. Yeah.
I definitely see some inspiration in that. All of the strides he's made through the recovery process, it definitely has been inspirational. Like, I had broken my arm a couple months before, and then seeing Hayden like get through all of the same stuff, but like tenfold, it's like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I had a tough time, but like he was able to recover, and it's just fantastic what he was able to do.
It was an horrific accident. He won't be able to compete anymore. And here he is back in the track, running and competing. Hayden Skaggs of Eureka College. Give him a big hand, folks. Way to go, Hayden!
Getting back on the track, it was amazing. I really don't know what to say. I have been waiting to get back to this moment for a year now. It's been a lot to get here, a lot to go through, but being on the track before the race started, feeling those, the nerves come in, it just felt right. It felt right to be back out there, and I'm just happy I can be. Yeah, that was I had no idea. I had no idea my teammates had signs. So it was really great. It was great to be able to see, they've been supporting me this entire past year. And so just as that support's continued on, and seeing that as I came across the last straightaway, it was just it was wonderful. I mean, it showed me how much love this team has for all of each other and how much they've supported me. So Unknown Thunder was whenever I was first had my accident back last May. In the hospital, they had to just, before they did anything else, put down an identification name, and it was Unknown Thunder, and it's kind of stuck. It sounded really cool in the hospital, and I think that it just stuck as a fun thing, and it's what they've called me since then.
Hayden cares about his teammates. He cares about fellow students on campus. He loves the youth at our church that he works with. He's goofy, he's quirky, he's smart. He's just a good person to have around, and it's been a pleasure these last 3 years, and I'm glad to be able to have him back in the fold fully, and looking forward to next year. Really looking forward to this Saturday.
As a person, Hayden is just one of the most genuine, kind people that I know. He is always there to tell you the truth, but in the best way possible. He is always good in times of crisis, and he's always just a really steady person. Even through all of this that happened to him, he was just like, okay, well, I guess this is just my life now, so we're gonna make the best of it, and we're gonna keep going.
I just don't even know where to start. I love to do this. All of it just for the joy of running, for the joy of being on this team with so many people who I care so much for. And being able to say, I'm a college athlete, I get to run for Eureka College is so much to me. It brings me such unparalleled joy.